What's up, YouTube? It's Battlescar. A case has been making the rounds this week that's been pretty interesting to follow. You might have already heard about it, where allegedly a female executive at JPMorgan violently sexually assaulted a junior male colleague. Now, I want to make it very clear right from the start that SA is not a joke, no matter the gender, no matter the circumstance. It's all sick, awful shit. But as more details are coming out, the story is just becoming more and more outrageous. And I think there are significant issues with the story, or at least that some of it seems to be inflated. And I'm going to cover why I think that is the case. So stick around. Now, some of you might have already heard about this story because of this insane article that came out from the Daily Mail, where it said that glamorous JP Morgan executive is accused of turning a married male broker into her office sex slave, claims of Viagra spiking and litany of obscene forced acts that made him cry. Now, that is a fucking crazy headline. Like, wow, I'm actually jealous. I need to learn how to title my videos with that much intrigue and pizzazz. But the story goes that an anonymous Jane Doe filed a civil lawsuit in New York accusing his managing director, which is the blonde woman on the left that you see here, of sexual assault, racial harassment, drugging, and professional coercion. There are lots of details about this story, things that happened, things that were said, and I would love to show them to you directly as it appeared in the filing document, as it was officially reported, I suppose. But as you can see, it has currently been returned for correction, so I really can't do that at the moment. But what I did do is I found some screenshots that appear to be from the filing document, and I have seen them appear pretty much everywhere as I was looking into this. So this is going to have to be relatively trustworthy for the time being, right? Inside the filing document, the John Doe alleged that Lorna Hashdini, who is the female executive at JP Morgan in this case, made sexual advances on him to which he said that he was not interested. She said things like, "Do you want to get promoted at the end of the year or not? Do you want a future at JP Morgan? It's that simple. I don't know why you're fighting this." After this, she then allegedly removed her shirt, began to fondle her breast, and then say, "I bet your little Asian fish head wife doesn't have these cannons." I'm, so- I'm sorry, I'm really struggling to keep my composure. "I fucking own you. I will make you pay. Do you think that you're going to be in good standing if you don't if you don't have me in your corner? Do you really think that management wants some brown boy Indian leading organizations? If you don't fuck my brains out tonight, I'm going to sabotage your promotion." I'm sorry, I just I can't get over that. Oh shit. I can't get over that. I bet your little Asian fish head wife doesn't have these cannons. Oh shit. This reads like a really bad fan fiction. Something that you would only see on 4chan or some hentai manga. I don't know. I'll be real. I didn't even I didn't even know the fish thing was a slur. I've really never heard it before. It's wild to me. Moving on from that, apparently she also called him her little brown Indian boy toy, which is insane. Some of the sexual acts that were described though are pretty sick. I'm not going to lie. Where he claimed that she roofied him and forced a Viagra derivative on him, after which she then gave him a blowjob while he cried, and she berated him to stop crying and mocking him that he can't even get hard and that no one will believe him even if he tells anyone. And another part of the story is that he claimed that at some point in one of the incidents, she forced him down on the ground and sat on top of him to force him to give her oral sex. So, of course, this is really dark, disgusting stuff. But on the other hand, there is a lot of evidence coming out that is calling some of these allegations into question. Some of the information that I've been able to find is, well, first of all, the John Doe has effectively been unmasked, I suppose, and is a gentleman with the name of Chirayu Rana, which is a 35-year-old who's moved on from JP Morgan and went into a private equity gig. Now, it's being said that the whole threaten his bonus, kind of like withhold promotion premise doesn't really seem to hold water because his executive reports to an entirely different managing director. And as a result, she doesn't really have much say over his compensation and career progression. So the threats that were being held there doesn't seem to entirely hold water. But anyway, that's not necessarily the silver bullet, what I think it is. JP Morgan themselves also pulled phone records, reviewed emails, and interviewed the full team, but was able to find nothing. Now, I don't really know how much support this holds because this is kind of like, that meme about Obama giving himself a medal. That's how I always feel about these internal investigations. I don't think I've ever seen an internal investigation being done that actually says, yep, you guys were right. This is pretty bad. Yep. Like, this has got to stop kind of thing. I've never really seen an internal investigation really go anywhere. I think about things like the Blizzard sex scandal kind of internal investigation. They also found nothing, even though the cases they were absolutely blatant. What was interesting, though, is that Rana himself seems to have refused to participate in the investigation at all, which does seem a bit suspicious, although, again, not necessarily a silver bullet. But what's interesting is before the lawsuit happened or was filed, he did try to negotiate a multi-million payout to leave the bank quietly, but JP Morgan did not give in to this. Another interesting post that I found was this one that said that 10 months ago, Chirayu Rana went to a legal chatbot and asked about suing his former company for sexual abuse. Now, immediately you'd think, cool, former company, it's JP Morgan that they're talking about. That wasn't the case when he was using this legal chatbot. And before we say, well, how sure we can trust this, we can trust this post. Well, I was able to find the archived version of the discussion, and we do know that the person that was actually talking was Chirayu Rana. Now, the details being discussed with the legal chatbot is important because it wasn't JP Morgan that was being used, it was Morgan Stanley. And I'm sure you could make the argument that, well, maybe he was using it as a placeholder. You didn't want to confirm too many details until you're sure that you wanted to go ahead. But argument doesn't really work because Rana worked for both companies. So it does seem like he was workshopping the story a little bit, and why he ended up going for the JP Morgan one, I'm not exactly sure. Maybe there was a potential higher success rate in his mind on this, or there was going to be a bigger payout or something like that. What's also important is that in this version that he was speaking about to the legal chatbot, the abuser was male rather than female. Now, that is important because it seems like things here were being ideated and weren't yet fully set in stone, which, if this is a 100% factually a case that did happen, there was no reason to workshop or kind of work out the kinks and the details of the story. So it seems like there is definitely something fishy going on. Sorry, I didn't even mean to make that pun, honest. But these are very serious allegations. I would definitely hope that someone is not stupid enough to make light of something like this and make baseless accusations. But we do know that there are a lot of people out there that have weaponized SA allegations before. Now, if this is baseless, it is really strange because that just means he ends up calling his own wife like a racial slur and canonless, which is just really funny. And obviously, just because of the nature of this entire thing and all of the evidence that's come out about it, there's been a lot of memes as well, which have all been really funny. A lot of posts going about like, when does JP Morgan have a vacancy? Or that the applications to JP Morgan has gone up 400, 500% since the story came out or whatever. But I do need to reiterate that as outlandish or sometimes even funny some of the details of the story have been, there is something very serious to say about SA. This is not something that you can make fun of. It's not something you can make light of. But again, some of the details of the story does just seem outrageous. It's the best way I can put it. If this does turn out to be false, which again, I think there is a non-zero probability of that being the case, I think this is very serious and he ended up ruining her life, in which case I hope she retaliates. If all of this was speculation and I turn out to be wrong, and pretty much everyone else turns out to be wrong, then this is a very sad situation. And I hope that he ends up getting the justice that he deserves. So, anyway, I just kind of wanted to talk about it. I thought it was a really interesting story. Have a good one. Cheers.